Failed to drop my spot. A mistake in World of Tanks by Dangerously Incompetent. Remember, I make mistakes, so you don't have to. I'm driving the T67, USA's Tier 5 tank destroyer, on the Siegfried Line in a Tier 8 battle. Let's start the action up a bit again. Now, up until this point in the battle, I haven't been seen. I've come over here, driven under the bushes, to get some spots and get some shots, because someone's bound to drive into the courtyard or drive up the eastern side of the map. It's just a matter of waiting for them to turn up. And here he is. Here's my first customer. Spotted the M6. There's a small gap between the buildings and he's out of line of sight. The buildings are in the way before I can get my gun to him. Drat. Never mind. He's still going forwards. So he's probably going to pop out the other side of those buildings and I'll be able to get shots at him. And even if he doesn't go all the way and sort of hugs the corner of that grey apartment block, if I relocate, I'll be able to get shots on him. And if I'm really lucky, I'll be able to get those trees in between me and him, and he won't be able to see me, and I can shoot him with impunity. However, not quite to be. Notice that IS on the right hand side of the screen, the enemy IS, he's poking forwards. And that's going to cause problems for me, because even though I managed just about to get those trees in between me and the M6, the IS is poked forward and he sees me. The M6, seeing me being drawn, turns towards me, stops his flank being shot at. I get my sixth sense warning. So it behooves me to run away and do the relocate jig in the T67. Now, M6 is definitely interested in me. He's shooting at me. Now remember, after you've been spotted, you get drawn. And once you break your line of sight, you're still drawn for several seconds after you've dropped the line of sight. The M6 can't see me, nobody else on the enemy team can see me, but I'm still being drawn. So, I drop down the hill, turn around, and I need to stay down here out of line of sight of the M6 and anyone else for some time to ensure that I'm not being drawn for them, and then I can pop up the top of this hill, shoot him. I'll be behind these bushes, so with a bit of luck I'll see him and he can't see me and I can shoot him and ha 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 ha. However, I misjudged the time. I haven't stayed down out of line of sight for long enough. All the time I've been driving up the hill, I've been drawn for that M6. He's seen me coming. He can take all the time he wants to aim. I stick my nose over the crest of the hill. He's aimed in. He shoots. He punishes me for not dropping my spot and takes off a quarter of my hits. It's an easy mistake to make, just misjudging the amount of time you've spent out of line of sight. But when I came over the hill and looked at him, well, took a sniper's view, I could see he was pointed straight at me. His turret was pointed straight at me, and that should have been a clue. At that point I thought, oh, he knows I'm here. I haven't stayed out of sight long enough. Get back down that hill, drop out of line of sight. But I didn't. I stuck around to try and get a shot, and he punished me. So how long do you need to stay out of line of sight in order to drop your spot? Well, after a few 10,000s of battles, you'll get a feel for the time. But how long exactly? Well, fortunately, in this video, there's a nice rock-steady indicator of how long you get drawn for after you're out of line of sight. If you rewind this video to the point where the M6 has the second time he's turned up. I've shot him first once, I shot him twice, and then I'm running away. At that point, just before I drop below the bottom of the hill, the brow of the hill rather, I'm the last person to see him. There isn't actually anyone else. If you look at the map, no one else has line of sight to the M6. So I was the last person to see him as I disappeared down the hill into the valley. And if you check the battle timer in the top right hand corner of the screen, you'll notice the time at that point was 12:21. I then drove down the hill, turned around, drove up the hill, and then I poked my turret nose over the top, and at that point, all that time, the M6 was still being drawn, even though no one else had line of sight on him, and I didn't have line of sight on him. And then shortly after I poked my nose over the top of the hill, the M6 and his marker, you know, the bit that says his tier and the vehicle type and the damage on him, and yeah, that thing, that stopped being drawn just before he shot me. And the time, and that is how long you stay drawn for after you've broken your line of sight. And the time on the battle clock at that point was 12:31. So 10 seconds. It takes 10 seconds after you've broken line of sight, no one else is seeing you. That's how long you get drawn for. After that time, it's safe to stick your nose back out again, provided you're in cover, of course. I hope that's been helpful to you in learning how to drop your spot.